Today, we're talking about modest fashion. Now, you've probably heard that term before, but what if I told you it's not just about rules and religion? It's actually at the heart of a huge global conversation where faith, high fashion, and personal identity are colliding in some really surprising ways. So, quick question for you. When I say modest fashion, what's the first image that pops into your head? Is it a certain type of clothing, a specific religion? Whatever it is, hold that thought because we're about to see if it holds up. The reality is way more complex and a lot more colorful than the stereotype. All right, first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what we're actually talking about here. We need to get a handle on what this all means and go a little deeper than just the surface level stuff. Okay, so at its very core, modest dressing across Islam, Judaism, and Christianity really starts from the same place. It's a shared idea about being intentional with how you dress. The big questions are pretty universal. What parts of the body are covered? Who are they covered in front of? And in what kinds of spaces? But, and this is a really big but, just when you think you've found that simple, shared foundation, you realize something crucial. There is absolutely no single, one-size-fits-all rulebook. Not even close. And honestly, that's where the story gets really interesting. So you've got this one shared goal, but no single map to get there. What does that create? A whole world of different paths. Let's actually dig into how these different interpretations play out in the real world. For example, take head and neck coverage. In some Jewish traditions, married women will cover their hair, maybe with a wig or a scarf, but covering the neck isn't really the focus. Now, compare that to the hijab that many Muslim women wear, which covers both the hair and the neck. But here's a key detail. Even that isn't universal. Many Muslim women don't interpret head covering as a requirement at all. And then you've got the great trouser debate. I mean, seriously, in ultra-Orthodox Judaism, pants are often seen as strictly for men, which makes them a no-go for women. But for so many Muslim and Christian women, trousers are just a normal, everyday staple in their modest wardrobe. It's one item of clothing seen through two completely different lenses. This is where you can really see those different philosophies up close. Look at the fit category. For many in Islam and ultra-Orthodox Judaism, the idea is to obscure the body's shape. But for some Christians, like in the LDS community, the shape itself isn't the issue. The real priority is making sure the sacred temple garment underneath stays covered. It's a subtle difference, but it points to a profoundly different way of thinking. Okay, so we've seen a ton of differences, right? You might be wondering, is there anything that brings these very distinct groups together? Well, it turns out there is, and it has everything to do with the world of mainstream fashion. And this is it. This is the big aha moment, because buried underneath all those different rules and interpretations, there is one single powerful desire that unites these women. They want to be fashionable. They want to express their own personal style. So how does that actually work? Well, it means they aren't walled off in some specialty shops. Nope, they are right there in mainstream stores, getting creative, modifying off-the-rack clothes to fit their needs. And there's this really clear move, especially among the younger generation, away from so-called ethnic clothing and toward what's happening in global fashion. They want to be part of the trend, not separate from it. But believe it or not, this story gets even bigger when we start to look beyond just religious motivations. There's a new, incredibly diverse community forming, and it's happening in a very modern space. And this might be the biggest surprise of the whole thing. Dressing modestly is not exclusively a religious act. There's a growing number of women who dress this way for reasons that are totally secular. In fact, even some religious women will tell you that faith isn't their main driver. Yeah, the motivations are a complete spectrum. Of course, religious doctrine is a huge factor for many. But for others, it's simply about what feels right for their age, their career, or even where they live. It's a deeply personal choice, not just a religious one. So where do all these different people from different faiths with different motivations all connect and share ideas? They're meeting on the internet. Social media and online forums have become the new global town square for this exact conversation about what modesty means today. And you can literally see this community building itself in real time. It starts with women simply sharing their own stories. From there, they start to connect, finding similarities and discovering surprising differences. This leads to discussion, debate, and ultimately, a brand new, much more inclusive understanding of modesty is being created as we speak. Which brings us to our conclusion, which really isn't a conclusion at all. Because the story of modest fashion is not some closed book with a final chapter. It's very much alive and kicking. So, here's the crucial point. Modesty isn't some static set of ancient rules carved in stone. It's a dynamic, living concept. And its meaning is constantly being shaped, defined, and redefined by the individual women who choose to embrace it, each on their own terms. And that leaves us with one last big question. In this new digital age where global fashion, personal faith, and secular choices are all merging online, who gets to define what modesty means next? Thanks for joining us.